Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're doing a deep dive into quite a stack of material you sent us. It's all focused on one area: common mistakes and examiner advice for the CIMA CGMA case study exams.
That's right. We've sifted through, key examiner reports, guidance documents across different levels, even looking back at the 2015 syllabus stuff.
And the mission here is really to pull out the absolute core insights. Yeah, I give you a clear picture of what examiners are looking for and, honestly, why so many candidates stumble, often for the same reasons, it seems.
Exactly. Think of it as getting the examiner's perspective directly distilled and ready for you to use. No fluff.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
So the very first thing right out of the gate from these sources is understanding what these exams are. They're not just, traditional academic tests.
Right. They're simulations, aren't they? Designed to mimic workplace problems, put you right into a job role using that detailed case scenario.
Precisely. The tasks are meant to be practical, applied. It's not about reciting theory. It's about showing you can perform core job activities to a workplace standard.
Success means actually doing the job, virtually speaking.
You got it. And here's maybe the most surprising thing we found straight away. Candidates keep failing for the same fundamental reasons. It doesn't matter it's the 2019 syllabus or the 2015 one.
Wow, really? So the syllabus changes, but the reasons for failing don't. That's significant.
It really is. It suggests the issue isn't just the technical content, but maybe how candidates approach the exam itself.
Okay, so what are these recurring pitfalls?
Well, the examiners consistently point to four main reasons why candidates get stuck at low marks, what they call level 1 on a trait or competency.
Right.
First, and maybe the most straightforward, is just limited technical ability, gaps in knowledge, basically.
Okay, fair enough. You need to know the material.
You do. But the others are more about how you use that knowledge. Second is insufficient justification for your arguments, meaning you might say something like, "This improves decision-making," but you don't explain how or why it does, especially in the context of the case.
Okay. Just making assertions isn't enough.
Not at all. And third, this is a really big one. Failing to properly reflect the specific scenario.
So, using the details from the case study.
Exactly. Not using the specific details about the organization, its industry, the environment it's operating in, all that stuff provided in the pre-seen and unseen materials. Your answer becomes too generic.
Okay, so know your stuff, explain why you're saying things, and link it specifically to the company in the exam.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense why those would keep tripping people up.
It does. And, to get the higher marks, say a level 3, the expectation is naturally much higher. There's a great quote from an examiner that sums it up.
Let's hear it.
Okay. To achieve a level 3 in most traits, it was expected that you would demonstrate good technical understanding of the topic being tested through clear and comprehensive discussion, and where asked, justify your answer. The answer should, of course, be applied to the organization, both pre-seen and unseen materials, and the particular scenario within the task.
So it's the whole package, isn't it? Good technical knowledge, clear discussion, justification when needed, and that constant application to the specific case. You can't really skip any of those parts.
No, it's the synthesis, the bringing it all together. And based on that, the examiners essentially have 5 core expectations for your answers.
Okay, what are they?
1, be relevant to the requirement, answer the question asked. 2, show you have the necessary technical knowledge. 3, show you can apply that knowledge to the specific scenario.
There's application again. It really feels central to everything.
It absolutely is. It's probably the single biggest theme. 4, be well structured. Use paragraphs clearly and make your points logically. And 5, justify your arguments. Don't just state, explain.
Right. That list feels like the blueprint based on what the markers want.
It really is. That's the core what.
Okay, so that's what they expect. Now, how do you actually do that? The reports also give recommendations on the how, right? Both before and during the exam.
Yes, exactly. They break it down quite nicely. Let's start with the 3 key things to focus on before the exam.
Okay, number 1.
Revise your study materials thoroughly. And that means everything, all syllabus areas, the 3 pillars: enterprise, performance, financial. Examiners explicitly warn against skipping topics, even the difficult ones.
Because the case study could pull from anywhere. Yeah. You can't predict it.
Precisely. It's risky. You need that solid foundation across the board.
Number 2 for preparation.
Read the pre-seen material carefully. Very carefully. And crucially, think about it. Don't just read it passively. Consider the industry, the company situation, its potential issues.
Why is that active thinking so important?
Because, like we keep saying, the tasks demand you apply technical stuff specifically to that scenario. If you haven't properly digested the pre-scene, you simply can't make those connections effectively.
Got it. And number 3, before the exam.
Practice tasks from past case studies. But the examiner stressed it's not just about doing them, it's about reflecting afterwards. Ask yourself, was my answer full? Was it relevant? Did I apply it?
So active practice, not just going through the motions.
Exactly. And they suggest actually practicing writing or typing out full answers. Maybe not always under strict time pressure at first, but focus on interpreting the task correctly and building that complete, justified, applied answer.
Okay, that covers prep. Now, what about during the exam itself?
When the pressure's on.
Right. So point 4, plan your answers. Seems obvious, but under pressure.
It's easy to just dive in, isn't it?
It is, but a logical structure helps immensely. Examiners actually suggest typing a quick outline plan at the start of each task or even each requirement within a task. It helps structure your thoughts and stops you forgetting key points later on. Good tip. Point 5.
Use your time wisely. Tasks usually have suggested weightings or timings. Stick to them as best you can.
So don't borrow time from one section if you're struggling with another.
Exactly. The reports warn against that. Try to give each requirement its allocated time. And if you finish a bit early, don't just sit there. Use the time to review, expand, add more justification, strengthen the application. Use the whole time productively.
Makes sense. Point 6 sounds crucial. Answer the question as set.
Oh, this is a huge one. Examiners say they see this all the time.
What, people answering a different question?
Effectively, yes. They answer the question they prepared for or the one they wish they'd been asked instead of the actual one on the screen.
Wow. That must be so frustrating for markers and a total waste of the candidate's time.
Absolutely. Here's what one examiner said. There were many examples where candidates answered the task that they had prepared for and wished they had been asked, rather than what they were asked. Preparation, ahead of sitting the exam, is to be applauded, but candidates need to be mindful that they must tailor their answer to address the task given to them on the day. Candidates need to read the task very carefully to ensure that they do not end up wasting time.
That's blunt. Read the question carefully.
It underlines the need for really meticulous reading during the exam, not just rushing into writing.
And that ties straight into point 7, which feels like we can't say it enough. Application to the scenario is absolutely key.
Fundamental. Technical knowledge gets you entry, but application gets you the marks. It's necessary, but definitely not sufficient on its own.
So you have to show you understand the theory in the context of this specific company, this specific problem.
Yes. You have to weave in information from the task itself, from the unseen materials you get on the day, and from the pre-scene. And thinking back, if you have gaps in your technical knowledge, you literally can't apply it properly. But just having the knowledge isn't the goal.
Right. Okay, point 8.
Commit to an argument.
What does that mean exactly? Avoid being wishy-washy.
Pretty much. It links back to justification. Examiners sometimes see answers that seem vague, like the candidate is hedging their bets, maybe trying not to contradict some model answer they saw somewhere.
Trying to play it safe.
Kind of. But markers mark on merit. And in business, often there isn't just one single right answer. There can be several valid approaches. So if you're a bit unsure, take a moment, think it through, develop a clear line of reasoning, and argue for it confidently with justification. Don't just sit on the fence.
Okay. Develop a stance and back it up. Point 9.
Keep your answer relevant. Avoid padding.
So don't just dump everything you know about a topic, even if it shows you've done loads of reading.
Exactly. Background research insights or real-world examples are only useful if you explicitly link them and apply them to the task and the scenario at hand. Otherwise, it's just irrelevant noise.
Right. And there was a specific point about justification here too, wasn't there? How to do it well.
Yes, the examiner gives a brilliant piece of advice on avoiding unsupported statements, they say. You are able to explain with clarity and comprehensively rather than making unsupported statements. Writing comments such as, this improves decision-making, this graph is essential, or planning is enhanced, are not enough to gain any marks. Candidates must explain how and why this is the case.
So the how and why.
Exactly. And then they give this fantastic practical tip. Explanations can quite often be improved by adding "because of scent" at the end of a sentence. And I add, explanations should also utilize the information given to you within the case study itself, especially financial information. For example, reasons for variances are often given to you in the unseen information. The skill is to pick this out and use it.
That "because of" trick is so simple but so effective. Just forces you to add the reason. And using the case data, like financials, perfect example of application.
It really is very practical.
Okay, and finally, point 10 during the exam.
Make sure your presentation and tone are appropriate.
So not just about layout, but the way you communicate.
Right. There aren't specific marks for, say, formatting a report perfectly, but the tone matters. Sometimes the task might require you to recommend something difficult or unpopular for the company in the case.
How should you handle that?
Not by being aggressive or overly critical, but by being professional. Present a clear, relevant argument that directly answers the question, using the facts from the case to justify why this potentially difficult recommendation is necessary or beneficial. It's about reasoned persuasion.
Okay, so across all 10 points, before and during, the real thread seems to be that consistent, reasoned application of knowledge to the specific facts of the case.
Absolutely. And one final recommendation from the sources is, after you've sat an exam, make sure you go back and actually read the full examiner's report, the suggested answers, and the marking guidance for that specific exam sitting.
Because that gives the most tailored feedback.
Exactly. This deep dive gives you the recurring themes we found across multiple reports, which is powerful. But the report for the exam you actually took offers that really granular insight.
Right. So pulling all this advice together then, understanding the simulation nature, the reasons for low marks, the expectations for high marks, those top 10 recommendations, the core message from the examiners feels incredibly consistent. It's really not just about knowing the technical syllabus content, is it?
No, not at all. That's just the starting point. The real differentiator is the skillful application of that knowledge. It's about justifying your points, using the specific details, financial, operational, strategics, drawn directly from the pre-seen and unseen materials.
And it's about having the discipline to read the question carefully, focus only on what's being asked, and keep that specific company scenario front and center the whole time.
And it seems these common mistakes keep happening because candidates miss or maybe underestimate that crucial link, the link between the theory they've learned and how to actually use it practically within the unique context of the case they're given on the day.
The candidates who do well are the ones who can step into that simulated role and use their knowledge as a toolkit to solve the problem presented, not just list facts.
That's a great way to put it. They perform the role.
Okay, so thinking about all this advice, especially that constant drumbeat of applying knowledge to specific situations, justifying arguments with evidence, staying focused on the actual question asked within a given context. Here's something maybe to think about after listening. How might mastering these principles, not just for the exam, but really internalizing them, how might that translate beyond just passing CIMA into being genuinely more effective, more impactful in your actual day-to-day work?